When I was young, I used to play basketball in a community youth league. Each year I would hear about how much potential I had from coaches and various parents. At first I thought this was a great compliment, indicating that I was going places in the sport. After about 3 years of hearing the exact same thing, I paused and thought, if I always hear I have great potential, when is it that I actualize on it? Zenonia, an action RPG game developed by Gamevil, suffers from this same affliction. From the start of Zenonia, everything seemed to be aligned for a great game. The graphics and music are appropriate, the beginning of the story was intriguing, and the gameplay felt surprisingly tight for a touchscreen layout. However, after completing the game, I'm left feeling that the potential was never actualized. The story never blossomed into something amazing, and the gameplay never matured. Now, I don't want to be overly negative about Zenonia. I like the game quite a bit. At this point, there are already 3 games into the series, and I'm optimistic that the second 2 are going to be stellar games because Gamevil has a great base to start from. After all, I did enjoy my experience here, and I think others will as well. Zenonia is an action RPG game in the spirit of Secret of Mana or Diablo. You control your blonde hero as he unravels the mystery of his family lineage and its ties to a dark mystery. Through the game, you associate yourself with one of 2 rivaling factions that change a few elements of the story. Some players may want to go back to the game and see the story elements from the other perspective, but I found limited appeal in that. At the start of the game, you get to choose between 3 character classes: Warrior, Assassin, and Paladin, which all differ in a moderate amount. Each character class uses different weapons and acquires different skills throughout the game. The majority of the game thereafter is spent killing monsters, collecting any money and items they drop, and then returning to town to sell items and buy more equipment. You're also awarded experience points for killing foes, which will allow you to level up and allocate skill points and stat points. The character customization in Zenonia is pretty solid, enough that I felt like I was creating a character that complemented my playstyle. There are also quests available in each town. Most of these boil down to visiting areas just outside town and killing X amount of some enemy. There are a few that add to the story, which is nice, but most of them are a device to distract the player from the fact that they're simply grinding levels to best the upcoming dungeon boss. Grinding is 90% of what Zenonia is. Each area you go to, you will spend hours in the field killing enemies for cash and experience to level your character and improve your equipment. Once the enemies in one area are no match, you move on to the next area. It's pretty methodic. In most RPGs, a similar system is in place, but it's usually veiled in one way or another. Zenonia makes little effort to veil its grinding nature. The graphics of Zenonia are about the level of the 16-bit Super Nintendo. Though there isn't anything particularly awe-inspiring here, the game's up to par on the platform and genre. The special abilities and spell effects are solid, and enemies vary enough to ward off any feelings of repetition. There are some enemies that are simple recolors, but it doesn't happen so often that it's distracting. The music follows Zenonia's theme of repetition. There are a handful of tracks that are played depending on your environment. The issue that arises is in the length of the music clips and Gamevil's ability to successfully loop these tracks. It may not have been so noticeable that the clip is only 20 or 30 seconds long if the music didn't end and replay so abruptly. This does negate from a seamless experience that a developer attempts to create. The music aside from the looping is actually good. Gamevil made solid choices with the tracks, and I'm optimistic in their ability to edit it with future games. Despite the fact that Zenonia, when broken into its components, seems subpar, the aggregate of the experience is solid. I did feel as though I was forgiving things as I unraveled the story, but overall I think it was fun, and I look forward to the follow-up games. Though Zenonia may be a bit much for the more casual gamer, I recommend it to anyone looking for a hack-and-slash type RPG with 30 plus hours to burn. Pixelfreak.com is giving Zenonia 80 pixels out of 100.